Okay, let's find the greatest common factor between 12 and 21. So I write those numbers side by side and draw an L for ladder. Now I'll pull out a common factor between 12 and 21. I know that 2 is not a common factor because 21 is an odd number. Are they divisible by 3? Well, yes they are, right? I'm going to pull out a 3 because 3 times 4 is 12 and 3 times 7 would be 21. Do 4 and 7 have a common factor? They don't, other than 1, and so I can't make an additional ladder. If I want the GCF, I go straight down the side. So right here, that number right there, 3, is the GCF, the greatest common factor between 12 and 21. Next, I want the LCM, the least common multiple, between 21 and 42. Again, I can use the ladder method because it works for both the greatest common factor and the least common multiple. I draw the numbers side by side, draw an L for ladder. What is a common factor between 21 and 42? Well, how about 7? Right? Wouldn't 7 be a common factor? Because 7 times 3 is 21, and 7 times 6 would be 42. Do 3 and 6 have a common factor? They do, right? 3 would be a common factor between 3 and 6, so I have to make an additional ladder. Pull out that 3. 3 times 1 would be 3, and 3 times 2 would be 6. 1 and 2 don't have a common factor other than 1, and so I can stop. I don't need to make additional ladders. And the least common multiple, I would go down and to the right. I would make an L. I'll be multiplying these numbers together. So 7 times 3 times 1 times 2. Well, 7 times 3 is 21. 21 times 1 is 21. And 21 times 2 would be 42. Right? So the LCM of 21 and 42 would be 42. Last one, the greatest common factor between 30 and 75. I want the GCF of 30 and 75. Write them side by side, draw an L for a ladder. Let's pull out a common factor. Well, 30 and 75 both end in 0 or 5, and so I know that these numbers are divisible by 5, so I can pull out a 5. 5 times 6 would be 30, and 5 times what is 75? If I don't know, I can use the inverse of multiplication, which would be division, right? I could do 75 divided by 5, and that would give me 15. So 5 times 15 must be 75. Do 6 and 15 have a common factor? Yes, they do, right? They're both divisible by 3 because 3 times 2 is 6 and 3 times 5 is 15. Do 2 and 5 have a common factor other than 1? They don't. So I don't need to make additional ladders. Since I want the GCF, I go straight down, box those numbers up, and multiply them together. 5 times 3 would be 15. So 15 is the greatest common factor of 30 and 75.